The Innovation Theater at CSEMP Edge 24 is sponsored by Gaines. Move forward faster.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eric Falls. I am a solutions architect at Cleo. I'll get into a little bit more about Cleo here in just a moment. Somebody was asking me a little bit earlier, where are you from? How long have you been in industry? So 7 years at Cleo, 30 years integration. I was a customer myself once, so I was integration manager for about a $7 billion distribution company. Decided I wanted to start helping other organizations, so spent a little time at some other vendors, ended up here at Cleo. So we'll get into Cleo in a little bit more, but I wanted to make this interactive. We all just got done with lunch, maybe got a little bit of food coma going on, so show of hands, who's familiar with APIs? Okay, who's familiar with EDI? Everybody. Fantastic. Well, that's good. I've had a great opportunity this week to speak to many of you, actually, and have gotten feedback on where I wanted to start with this, and that's challenges you might face today around integration. Now, I don't want to read this item by item. This may resonate. If you read this list and you scan it real quick, I promise I won't pick on you, but do any of these reflect anything you might be dealing with today? Slow onboarding, difficulty with visibility. I talked to a gentleman earlier, he said, yep, I've got a tactical solution for my API integration, and I do other file-based stuff with another solution, and I do EDI with yet another solution. So very tactical, very siloed. Visibility. Anybody have challenges with visibility today and not able to see a full workflow? I see nodding heads. So clearly there's a gap. There's some issues around how it's working for your organizations today. That's where we can help you out. So at the core, Cleo is all about helping you to be able to connect to your partners, connect to your back office systems, be able to integrate and interface. So I've got to be able to accept, maybe it's EDI messages, maybe it's API messages. Maybe the best that one of my trading partners can do is send me a spreadsheet via email, right? What we really want to help enable you to be able to do is say yes to your trading partners, regardless of format, regardless of transaction type, and be able to do that in a cloud format, right? So we would host this environment. You would be able to gain access to the environment, and you'll see this today. We call it our cockpit. So it's the visibility layer that will allow you to be able to see full end-to-end views of transactions that are flowing in this environment between your back office systems and your external trading partner community. In addition to all of that, I think what sets us apart is, yes, there are providers that will manage EDI for you. And yes, there are solutions that you can bring in-house and manage it exclusively yourselves. We give you a hybrid option. We give you the tools that will allow you to be able to go in and manage integrations yourselves through a studio. So if that's of interest and you want to be able to do mapping, do translations, do some of these things yourselves, you absolutely can do that. You don't have to be exclusively on that front. You could say, look, I'm going to be out of the office for a week, for a month. Look, I just need help from you, Cleo, because I'm a little bit burdened with the workload that's coming my way. Can you help us? And the answer to that is absolutely. So that's Cleo. We've got lots of customers in the manufacturing space, in retail, in the carrier and logistics industry. Any questions before we proceed, just in terms of the overall who Cleo is, what we do? Yes, sir.
So on the data, you don't retain any of the data and take ownership of the data, right?
No, it's fully in transit. We can retain as much because there's a cockpit, so you want to be able to look back 30 days worth of data, 60 days. You'll see that in a little bit, but it is your data. We're just really moving it between partners and your systems. Another thought on that?
I won't wrap it up.
Okay. No rabbit holes. Okay, got it. I kind of alluded to the studio. So if you have staff and you want to be able to have this level of control through what I would call a drag and drop, low code, citizen developer type of environment, you can, on your own, do these types of integrations yourselves. No heavy development, no heavy scripting, and we'd love an opportunity to be able to kind of show you this further. We won't get into the studio today. The platform is vast. You can do a lot with it, but just keep in mind that you'd have that option available through Cleo. And I think what that really gives you is that choice and that control. You don't have to be exclusively a self-service customer, and you don't have to offload all of your work to a third party to do it. You have that ability to do both. What we're really going to spend time on is and I talked about this already, the cockpit. Now the cockpit has been designed not just for the technical person. Because if you think about it, how many of you are technical in this room? Some, but not all, right? And from my experience and what we hear from our customers is the technology teams might be responsible for setting up these integrations, but then who wants to see it after that? Do you want to see it? Maybe not. It's generally the business. I remember from my customer days, it was, hey Eric, did we get this load tender? Hey Eric, did we send our invoices? What if I could give you a cockpit and you could self-serve in an operational way and find that information yourselves? The cockpit has been designed so that if you are technical, you can certainly come in and see the data, but I think more importantly, it is intuitive so that your business users can go in and find this. You're not going to be looking at a lot of cryptic EDI segments and elements. That's there, it's underpinning all of it, but we've surfaced it so that you can see it in a more contextualized business way. Okay, I promised you a demo. Here we go. Okay, y'all seeing this okay? Clear enough? And we will be over at the booth over here if there's any further questions. So this is our cockpit. When you get signed into the environment, what you are brought to is what we refer to as our activity dashboard. So I like to call this sort of a 30,000-foot view into all of the transactions that are processing through the Cleo Integration Cloud. You can see I've got panels of information for any of the documents that you're exchanging. Orders, loads, shipments, ASNs, whatever your line of business is and whatever documents you're exchanging, we're capturing all that detail and we're surfacing it here. But if you look at up in the upper right-hand corner, you see purchase order, just as an example. You see the number of orders that have come in, but what else do you see? You start to see some statistics and some metrics around that. So you can give that information back to the business like, okay, I'm getting orders from my partners. What does that mean in terms of revenue? And am I seeing any spikes or any valleys? So not just the transactions themselves, but some nice high-level metrics around it as well. And this is all very configurable. So we recognize that within your organization, you may have finance, customer service, operations. Do they all want to see the same types of documents? Maybe not. You can pick and choose as an individual user what you do or don't want to see. So tailor your viewing experience and eliminate any of the other noise. So these are all, as I said, kind of underpinned by the documents. You can see that this is a hyperlink to the orders that are coming in. This is the hyperlink to load tenders that are coming in. But alternatively, I can click on messages, and now I'm seeing everything that's coming into and out of the environment. Now keep in mind, documents are being sent and received over whatever protocol using Cleo, and they're interfacing to your back office system. These are just operational views into all of that detail that's being sent and received. And I think what's really powerful about the environment is you are all very busy. These are great views that you have, but you want to be able to quickly come in and search, filter, and find exactly what it is that you're looking for. So if you look at the left side of my screen, you can see that I can search on inbound, outbound. I can search on a particular trading partner. So if I say, show me data from Estes, you can do all of that. You can add multiples of partners. And I'm not having to search on things like sender-receiver IDs. If you're familiar with EDI, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You use an actual company name that you can search on that way. If I scroll down a little bit, you'll see there's issues. Show of hands, who has issues with any EDI or APIs today? Yeah, it happens. It happens, right? We don't like it, but it's going to happen. So you want an ability to be able to find what's happening, triage it, troubleshoot it. And the good news is you don't have to sit and stare at the dashboard. You can subscribe to notifications that would come to you to say, there was a problem with a particular document, and oh, by the way, it was a bad segment, bad element, something of that sort. So you're not having to spend an enormous amount of time understanding what the problem was, okay? If I scroll down a little bit further, we all know in EDI speak, acknowledgements are important. It's that handshake between you and your trading partner, letting them know you got their documents and they got yours, right? So you can look at and filter by that. You can also have reports. So any end-of-day reports to help you reconcile, you can have scheduled reports as well. If I scroll down a little bit further, you can see that we have an individual list of all the different document types. So any and all transactions, as I said, EDI, API, non-EDI, that would all be in your list. So if you wanted to just look at, show me my orders, show me my loads, you can click on that. But without any filters being set, I can apply a message value. So think purchase order, invoice number, shipment ID, something along those lines. If I put that into my messages field, the system will now render back to me the documents that contain that value. By now, you've already studied this screen, and if you look at those message tiles, and I understand they're a little small, do you see any EDI segments elements? No, all very human readable. So that as a business user, I can come in and I can go, oh, okay, I got a load tender that came in from Estes. I can see shipment ID, value around this, was it acknowledged? So as a customer service representative, somebody in an operations role, I now have that access to information that I may have had to have called my provider about, or tap my EDI person on the shoulder to say, hey, can you check on this for me? We've raised that up, we've put it into a much more human readable, intuitive way so that business users can self-serve. Now you can also drill down further. So if I click on this 204, we get a level deeper. Now we are looking at that particular load. Center part of your screen, you see some more business level type information. Once again, good for the business user, but what else do you see on the screen? Look at the left side. We call this document correlation. So you get a load that comes in, you get a response that goes out, you get your 214s, you get your 210 invoice. We correlate all of that together in one single pane of glass, so I don't have to go around hunting to find, you know, this transaction was over here and this transaction was over there. We've assembled it all for you. Inevitably, if you want to look at the raw data, that is also one click away. So I want to see the actual EDI document that came in, or JSON, or XML, flat file, whatever it is. And I can also see the translated message. So that runs through a map. You're converting it into something that your back office, ERP, TMS, WMS can consume. That's the translated message. Now you may want to do a comparison. This is really handy if you're doing any testing, troubleshooting. It's the same document. It's just being laid in its two different formats side by side. Now if I close out of here, one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is, yes, you have visibility. We want you to have actionable visibility. So in this screen, I can download the document. Back here, I can actually do things like share this with a colleague. I can do reprocessing. Show of hands, who's ever had to do that? Yep, you get a request from a partner, hey, can you resend so-and-so document? Maybe your business says, hey, can we just pull this transaction right back into the system again? I don't have to go to the van, or I have to go to my trading partner. I can just control all that right here inside of the cockpit. On the lower part, because we are doing all the data movement and the data translation and interfacing that to your back office system, we give you that full end-to-end view. So you can see here, things are in green, things are good. That was a successful process. Just for demonstration purposes, I can click on here, and you notice that we give you all of the steps that are happening. So I can see the payload, I can see the log, I can see the transformation, every step of what's happening inside of that transformation, even post-translation, getting down. So this, for me, and what we continue to hear from our customers, is where a technician would want to come in, right? If you're an EDI person, you need to really kind of dig into each step that's happened. This is where you would go. And then at the partner level, maybe you're somebody in sales. This is an example I love, right? If you're somebody who's responsible for a particular account, this would be a great view for you to be able to come in, and I'll just pick on somebody, we'll call him Fastenal, because that's where I used to work. Now I can see some information. Here's some great rich detail around an individual trading partner. Some good metrics around that. I touched on scheduled reports. Anybody use scheduled reports today? I mean, this is all real-time information that you're viewing in the cockpit, but some great supplemental static reports, end-of-day reports, things that you can send to your users. That's where you would do a scheduled report. And then, of course, APIs. We're logging all of that information as well. We call that a system log, so that you can come in and you can view some details around that as well. Okay, I want to be mindful of time. So that concludes the demo, and I will say there is a lot more to be seen around this particular platform. Come over to the booth. Let me get back over here real quick to my PowerPoint just to close things out. Okay, just a couple more slides. So you think about the digital requirements that you have with your trading partners. They may be sending you requirements around EDI. You know, if you want to do business with me, you got to do a 204, you got to do a 214, whatever it is. There is also an associated business commitment that a lot of your partners, or maybe even you, would impose upon a trading partner. What do I mean by a business commitment? You might be accepting a document, and they may expect a document to get sent back in a certain amount of time. What happens if you don't? There might be chargebacks, there might be penalties, there might be violations. And so what Cleo is now doing is we are incorporating what we refer to as our relationship manager. So yes, let's do EDI, but yes, now let's have an ability to configure within the cockpit some of these business parameters so that you can stay compliant with your trading partners around these business commitments. So I'll just use an example. Document comes in, you need to send a return document in a certain amount of time. Inside of the cockpit, you can configure that so that you don't exceed that threshold, so that you don't find yourselves in hot water with a partner and get those chargebacks and get those fines. Make sense? And then lastly, you know, here's the benefits behind it. So the takeaway, we want to help you really light up your integration strategy. Have all of your API and EDI and all of your non-EDI type workflows inside of an environment, give you the visibility and the governance that you need, handle all of your requirements, and then be able to accept any different type of a document. So that concludes the session. Right on time, 20 minutes. Another question, yes sir?
So what you showed us was specifically units in transit, feeds from carriers and stuff. With the integration with how you have like SAP and you have a lot of clients, is everything that Cleo does like supply chain related, or do you integrate any data feeds that I need to go from here to here?
Yeah.
Regardless of
Yeah, so obviously what we want to do is work with you to identify where do you need the data to come in and out of. Is it an ERP, is it a TMS, maybe it's a data lake, maybe it's an Azure, it doesn't matter. Maybe it's a file system.
but it could be anything related, one ERP system to any system.
Any to any. Yep. Yeah, correct. So I didn't go through the list, but EDI, XML, JSON, flat file, database, spreadsheet, probably more, but yeah, those are the big six. Yeah, you're welcome. Other questions? Yes, ma'am?
What are some of the KPIs which you use for your clients, especially retail clients, like that in terms of industry standards, like EDI compliances?
Can you give me an example?
Like EDI compliance. What are those matrices which you measure on your dashboard?
Got it. So like on-time delivery.
You are getting feeds for on-time delivery, but when you are creating a dashboard, telling a story about the EDI situation, how are you telling the story? How are you measuring whether your EDIs are correct or not?
So that would be based on the business requirements that are being set by a partner, and then you can go in and actually configure those.
So my question is, like, on the basis of your experience with retail client, what are some of those standard matrices which you have used on the dashboard?
Why don't you, I don't want to, get into it with, let's go over to the booth afterwards if you want to, and we can talk a little bit about it in detail. Perfect. Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? Yeah, you're welcome. All right, thanks everybody.